Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to set up a Django project in your Linux machine and also introduce you to a few concepts along the way. This video is for anyone who wants to learn the Django web framework. You could be a beginner who is completely new to web programming, or you could be an experienced developer coming from a different background like PHP or .NET. In either case, I'm assuming that you already know the basics of Python, say variables, data structures, running Python scripts from command line, or knowing the different versions in Python, etc. If not, I suggest you learn them first before proceeding further. There are tons of tutorials available on the internet. A good place to start is learnpython.org. As I said earlier, I'll be setting up the Django project in my Linux machine. I'm using Linux Mint 18.1, which is based on the Ubuntu 16.04 flavor. In case you are using a different flavor or version of Linux, be advised the commands that I'll be using later in this video may or may not work for you. Next up is Python. There are two different Python versions that are widely used as of today, version 2.7 and version 3.5. The default version is 2.7. However, I prefer using the version 3.5. In most Linux distributions, both these versions come pre-installed and are ready to use, so you don't have to manually install it in your OS. To check if Python is installed in your machine, open the terminal application or press Ctrl, Alt and T. Once the terminal window opens up, type in Python-V and press enter. If Python is installed, you'll see the version number as the output. In my terminal, you can see the output as 2.7 and not 3.5. This is because the default Python command points to version 2.7. To check if Python version 3.5 is installed, type in Python3-V and press enter. Now you can see the version as 3.5. Here, the key takeaway is that you have to use Python 3 explicitly to use the version 3.5. Otherwise, you'll run your scripts using the older version. Remember apt-get install, the aptitude package manager for Ubuntu Linux? Similar to that, pip is a package manager specific to Python. Pip comes pre-installed in specific versions of both 2.7 and 3. By default, the command pip is associated with Python 2.7 and the command pip3 is associated with Python 3. Let me check the pip versions installed in my machine. You can see it installed as part of the Python 2.7 package. Next, I'll check for pip3. I don't have pip3 installed currently. I can install this with the command shown here, but I don't think I need this as of now. So let's move on. The Python package index, also known as the PyPI, is a repository for Python language that helps us find and install third-party packages. We'll be using these commands to manage other plugins or packages that our project needs from time to time. The Django framework is available as a Python package, and we'll be using pip to install Django. The command pip install Django will install the framework into our system right away. But installing a specific version of a package into the system globally can affect you when you are working with multiple projects at a time. If you're an absolute beginner, it is essential to know what really happens when a command is issued. For example, when you issue a command Python from your terminal, the system tries to locate an executable named Python that lies somewhere inside the system. After locating, the executable is run and the output is returned to the terminal. This gives rise to two questions. Number one, which executable does the system run for a command? And number two, how does the system know where to look for the executable? Let's figure this out one by one. Which executable does the system run for a command? This is going to be easy and pretty straightforward. Use the which command. Which is a simple command used to identify the location of executables. Let us figure out which executables are run for the commands Python and Python 3. Open your terminal, type which Python and press enter. You will see the location of your Python 2.7 executable. Next, type which Python 3 and press enter. You will see the location of Python 3 executable. Now that we have figured out which executable is run for a command, the next question is, how does the system know where to look for the executable? This is where path comes in. Path is an environment variable specifying a set of directories where executable programs are located. I will print the path variable using the command echo $path. You see a list of directories separated by colon. To make it look more legible, I am going to print each of these directories in a new line. These are the directories that the system looks into for executables. At the first match, the system stops looking any further and runs the executable. Next, I am going to check the location of the Python executable. You can see it is located in usr/bin directory. In the order of the directories listed in path variable, the system looks into these directories one by one. Only this directory, usr/bin, contains the executable named Python. At this point, the system stops looking any further and runs the executable. So what really happens when Django is installed globally? When you issue the command pip install Django with admin privileges, the system locates the package from pypi and then installs it. When the application you are developing needs the Django framework, it makes use of the executable installed in the system. This approach leads us into the multiple packages and versions problem. Let's consider two different Django applications with different requirements. We'll call them Ancient Mercury and Flying Venus. Ancient Mercury requires Python 2.7 and Django version 1.9, whereas Flying Venus requires Python 3.5 and Django version 1.10. When you try installing these packages into the system globally, that is when the problem pops up. Though Python 2.7 and 3.5 are readily available in the system, remember they have different names, Python and Python 3. When you have already installed Django version 1.9 and try to install version 1.10 on top, the older version gets knocked off. This is because the system treats this operation as an upgrade. When the application Ancient Mercury calls out for the package Django, it expects version 1.9. but runs on version 1.10. This might result in unexpected output or even the application crashing. Additionally, when the application Flying Venus calls out for the package Python, it expects version 3.5 but runs on version 2.7. This could also cause the application to crash. So how will you address this problem? Install and uninstall packages as you move on from project to project? No. We'll make use of virtual environments. What is a virtual environment? A virtual environment involves two key components. Number one, a directory that will contain all the project-specific packages. Let's call this directory venv. Number two, the path environment variable with this venv directory set on top. To achieve this, we'll be using a package called virtualenv. Open a terminal window and type sudo pip install virtualenv and hit enter. You'll be prompted for your administrative password. Type in and hit enter again. This should install virtualenv in your system globally. Now that virtualenv is installed and ready to use, let's go ahead with creating the venv directories. We will create one venv directory per project that will hold all the necessary packages. We'll update the path variable specific to the ancient Mercury environment to hold this directory at the top, so that when the ancient Mercury calls out for the package Django, the version installed within this directory is picked up. Likewise, we will update the path variable while working on the Flying Venus project also. When Flying Venus calls out for the package Python, the version installed within this directory is picked up. Let me show you how to do this in real time. I have two projects named Ancient Mercury and Flying Venus. Ancient Mercury requires Python 2.7 and Django version 1.9. Flying Venus requires Python 3 as default and Django version 1.10. I navigate to the Ancient Mercury project directory and create a new directory named venv. Open a terminal window here. Make sure you are inside the newly created venv directory using the pwd command. Then create a new virtual environment using the command virtualenv followed by the environment name. In this case, I'm going to use the project name as the environment name, but without any spaces or special characters. From the output in the console, you can see this command installs a Python executable and the Python setup tools within the venv directory. The next step is to add this directory path at the top of path variable. You don't have to do this manually. Activating the virtual environment does this for you. I'll use the command source space virtual environment name /bin/activate. Upon activation, you can see the virtual environment name at the beginning of the command line. Let me list all the directories in the path variable. You should see the newly created virtual environment directory listed on top. Next, let's check which Python executable will be used in the current environment. You should see the Python executable from within the virtual environment directory being used. Next, let's check the version of Python that is installed within the environment. Great, Python 2.7 is installed as expected. Let's go ahead with the Django installation. Now the installation is complete. Let us verify the Django version. Note that this virtual environment is just for the current terminal window or tab that you are using. If you open a new terminal window or a tab and check the Python path, you'll still see the global executable path. Next, we'll set up the project Flying Venus. I need Python 3 as the default Python version for this project. So while creating the virtual environment, I'll ask the interpreter to use Python 3 explicitly using the command virtualenv -p Python 3 followed by the virtual environment name. From the output, you can see that the new virtual environment is being created using the Python 3 executable. Let's go ahead and activate the environment. As expected, you see the virtual environment name displayed at the beginning of the command line. Looks good. The Python executable is picked up from the venv directory. Then check the Python version. Great. We have Python version 3.5 as the default version. Note that I have not specified Python 3 in the command above. Let's go ahead and install Django version 1.10. then verify the Django version. We have set up the environments for both the projects. Next, we'll create a Django application in each of these environments. First, in Ancient Mercury, I create a new Django project using the command Django-admin start project followed by the project name, in this case Ancient Mercury, followed by a dot. This dot tells the interpreter to create a project in the current directory. If you don't specify this, you'll have the project files inside another new directory named after the project. I'm going to run this application with a built-in web server using the command python manage.py run server. You see a warning here saying you have unapplied migrations. You can ignore this for now. You can also see the Django version 1.9 running on port 8000. Pressing Ctrl C will stop the server. Let's open up the browser and check this. Localhost :8000. Cool, it's working. Let's create a Django project for Flying Venus as well. Django-admin start project Flying Venus followed by the dot. Listing the files. The files are created. Then starting the server, python manage.py run server. Now you see an error. That port is already in use. This is because Ancient Mercury is still running on port 8000. Let's try to run this application on a different port, say 8001. So the IP address, in this case I'm using 127.0.0.1 : the new port 8001. Now the error is gone. The application is running on Django version 1.10 in port 8001. We'll check this in the browser as well. Localhost 8001. Great. Now we have two different Django applications running simultaneously thanks to virtual environments. Finally, you can deactivate the virtual environments using the command deactivate. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this. If this video helped you understand some concepts better, please feel free to share it with someone who would also find this useful. Subscribe to this channel for more videos on web technologies and Python programming.